Let's jump. I love that.
Oh, I was blocked.
Oh, we are live, season 6, episode 37, 255. In case you didn't know, Chris, just I'm saying.
I was blocked.
Instantly?
No,
Oh,
recently.
oh. um,
Someone's watching their feeds, yo. Someone's watching their feeds.
well, it's funny. I what I want to do is end the broadcast, keep going with the on ramp, and then come back on. But that's not cool, so we're not going to do that. You have to fill me in. Um,
Well, let's.
let's do this.
Yeah. Let's do this. Let's do this. Let me adjust my halo light a little bit so you can see my good side.
Adjust your halo light, have a sip of coffee, and then
My coffee's.
entertain
Oh,
us.
I have two. I got to be careful. I only got 2 sips left, right? So I have to manage that. Yeah, no, I'll go vague on this, but just kind of make it story like, right?
Mm. Tell us a
So,
story. Tell us a story.
okay, yeah. So you know this because you were there, right? So, but this is, and we weren't even going to go here with this, but it is kind of fascinating. So, um, how do I approach this? What's the best way to approach? Okay, I'll walk in through this door. Here's the door I'm walking into the story. Oh,
Beginning, middle, end, bro. Beginning,
right.
middle, end.
But
Let's
the
do this. Oh,
beginning is a different middle, which could be a different. So I kind of like to go somewhere between beginning and middle, right?
okay.
And then I'll drop a little end, and then I'll do a little real beginning, and then I wrap it up quick. I just that's how I do my poetry too, right? I don't even know where I am in my story. I'll do it this way. It was about maybe 5 or 6 years ago. 5 or 6 years ago, I DM'd, didn't call out, but I DM'd an individual about some of the things they were posting up about a new book that they were bringing out. And I asked questions about the parts that they were screen capping. It's like, coming from this person, here comes this book. And their pages were there. And on one of the pages, there was a quote that I wanted to talk about the usage of the quote. It was a quote from a prominent Black activist, and I asked about basically about the appropriateness of grabbing that in light of what I understood the book to be about. Now I get it. I get it that any EDU authors are going to season up their own writing with other bigger thinkers. I mean, that's part of the act of persuasion, is this reference to authority, like somebody that's been there, done that, and the bigger the name, sometimes you can coattail in on their energy. So you pick a big name quote, a big name moment. Um, I can only imagine the number of actors and philosophers and musicians like that have done something really awesome that some small scale creative decided to say, I'm going to include their quote in my piece because, it lifts it somehow. The author responded back with a couple different things. They said, one, that I was taking the quote out of context, that I wasn't reading the quote right, which is possible. So I went back and did some research. I kind of looked at context. I'm like, no, I think the spirit, I'm going to agree with my version of the spirit of that quote. And the context that the quote was working in originally, I thought, you know what? To use it to sell your book in this way, I didn't feel like it was, I didn't feel it was appropriate. So here I am. I'm virtue signaling. I'm sort of, I guess, calling out, but I'm doing it on DMs, right? So I'm doing it in the most approachable way to be respectful. I'm not putting this there isn't blast. This isn't open eyes. Um the second thing that they said is, have you bought and read the book? Which I thought, like that's a funny kind of little gotcha, right? And we've seen this happen on socials before, where other authors have sort of, the call out, leads to clap back, like you need to read the book to understand how this particular thing really works. And I'm thinking to myself, if it can't stand alone and generate, like, I'm thinking on one hand, well, this is still generating some positive buzz for you, because if the answer is in the book, I could be tempted. I could say to myself, well, you know what? You've just made it a very good point, and you're right. I think in order for me to understand, like, if sorry, not understand, if I want to know more, I guess I got to be in the book. So I kind of land on that. And then the third thing that kind of happened out of this is they blocked me. And then, I managed to get a message to the individual to say, like, what's going on? Like, why did you block? Why did you just outwardly block? And their response back was that I wasn't being very nice. So that's there we go. So I'm all over the place with stories. So that's my history with this individual. And they while I had my now when I say block, this is on Twitter. I follow them on Instagram. I guess they don't know. I watch their videos on I watch their videos on YouTube. Um and yeah, I mean I my Gmail address is attached to that. So I guess if they look, I'm still not even clear how YouTube puts up that metadata. So I don't know if they can actually see who watch. I don't subscribe though. I don't subscribe. So, the next two things that are kind of interesting. So I've used Twitter. Like, Twitter's my sandbox. Like, I'm not going to be wagged by Twitter as best as possible. So I come and go. I've been here for a while, had a ton of content that I've posted onto there, and then just kind of said, okay, time for me to go, and I shut it down, scrub my account, and come back in. So I think I'm either on my third or fourth iteration of that since I started using Twitter. And I find there's no guarantee of how much time I will spend. The last time I was here was earlier in January, and I forget. Oh, I was on a holiday. Oh, it was over March break, maybe March break. I was just coming to sort of check out, just kind of see what's going on. And then I left again. And then I think it was maybe mid-May, I came back because I'm still looking at this AI and spec ed inquiry. And I know for me, my pattern is at some point I'll shut it down again, and then I'll decide to come back at some point. So when I came back as this current handle as far as chasing squirrels, which is a name to a few people around me, they would know that that's my podcast name. Like, there's that moniker. It's not like I don't think there's depth. There's no celebrity status to it, but there are people within my circles that would know. Oh, yeah, chasing squirrels. That's Clef. He has the podcast. He used that as part of the his podcast handle. So, with this new handle, I refollowed this individual. And I saw a few things, saw they're still kind of operating the same way. Their, I guess, EDU empire is a little bit bigger than it used to be. The things that they have their fingers into. Then just yesterday, there was a tweet that dropped into my DMs, and in it, the link went to another uh another, I guess, kind of a big name, kind of a big name. They got 22K followers that seemed to be kind of out of the blue. I couldn't get case history here. Like, I couldn't do the thread as to how this came about, but they were calling out the same uh educator. They were calling out the same educator, saying they've changed. They're posting up sort of videos of this jet set lifestyle. And when they engaged, now my sense was in the tweet, they called them out. I don't know if they DM'd. I forget from the actual. I don't know if they DM'd or they just put it out on blast. They were blocked as well. So they were blocked for sort of noticing and noting that this individual, same one that blocked me originally, um, is sort of putting up this lavishness or this polish that they disagreed with. They thought, like, yeah, like, there's something's different about this person. So then you and I this morning we're talking, and I go and check that original person that blocked me back in the day, and now I'm blocked by them too. So it's a funny little, and really, it's more comical than anything. It's curious that I'm sort of even perseverating on this story, because I'm betting that this individual probably has some tools that watches for that. Like, because I don't want to believe for a second that he's actually watching for me to start following him again. Like, that, if he is, great. And hey, how you doing? You know who you are if you hear this podcast. I don't think they're going to hear this podcast though. But yeah, so I'm blocked again. And last layer, the person that called out my person has deleted their tweet. Saturday morning on Decoded Podcast. This is what we have to deal with. This is what we have to deal with. But I like it feels soap opera-esque, right? I
For
wish
sure.
I and I'm not and I will say, reach out to me if you wanna know names. Anyone listening to us, reach out. I'll give you the names, you wanna know the people. I'm not gonna sort of do the blast right now, but it's just the person that blocked me originally has, like, over 100,000 followers. The person that called out that person has just over 20. So as you and I were talking this morning, like, I wonder what happened. I wonder what happened for them to pull down their tweet about the guy that blocked me. Like, what could possibly happen? And I feel like I wanna ask that person. I wanna ask both of them, "Why'd you block me?" And then I wanna ask the other, "Why'd you block me again?" That's a long-standing harsh, like, you block someone, it's they're a problem for you. If you're blocked, it's because you actually that there's somehow a problem for you. Now, I guess I maybe I'm a risk to the brand, and that 100K person has a very clear brand. Like they got steak here, right? Steak. I want steak for dinner now.
So do I. The 100K celebrity. I'm just going to use that word for now. The
Let's do
100K.
that. The 100K and the 22K.
Nice. The 100K celebrity
Yep.
before they were 100K. I remember. So on Twitter,
Hmm.
I like to think of myself as a connector.
Hmm.
If I read a tweet and someone says, "Hey, can someone help with this?" or "I'm trying to do this, it's not working," and I know somebody who might be able to offer assistance, I'll tag them. I'll be like, "Hey, check out so and so. They might be able to help."
Yep.
I see that as a good thing. So the one time somebody, a teacher, was like, "I don't understand this content. I'm trying to do this, whatever. It's not working." I'm like, "Well, talk to 100K," and I connect them. And same to what you said. 100K says, "Have you read my book?" I'm over here doing one of these. Like, are you kidding me? Um, this is the perfect opportunity for you to throw some low-hanging fruit at this person and engage them in this whole. This person, it appeared, was fuddling through this new fluency, this new technology, so to speak, and really giving it a shot. Like if 100K was really thinking about money in what I would believe the right way, he would have adopted this person, because then they forever they would say 100K supported me, 100K helped me get started, and then maybe even I bought 100K's book and I told everybody about it. But instead, 100K keeps pushing back. I jump in somewhere and I'm like, they just want to know, like, just throw them a bone. Did Have you read? Then I'm being asked, "Have you read my book?"
Hmm.
No, I haven't read your book. What I know is you wrote a book about this stuff. This person's asking for a little bit of help, and your response is, "Have you read my book?" I don't believe it's the right way to operate. I don't believe I it it, it doesn't sit well with me that somebody's asking for help. You don't have to help every single person who asks you for help, but in this situation, I think I ended up giving point 0.025K the person asking for help. I think I threw them a couple of bones based on my understanding of the content, the topic, and
Hmm.
experience with it. But I was embarrassed. So I was embarrassed. How do you do this to another human who, like, by all accounts and measure, this person was just like, "Hey, I'm a newbie, but I see that my students will like this. I see that my students can learn this content area in a different way. It's really going to bring things alive." And then you get hit with, "Have you read my book?" Now, 100K and 22K, my ideas on this is I believe it's ego. I believe 22K made a comment to 100K about being flashy, 100K who strikes me as a very sensitive individual because I would see 100 before they were 100K when they were like 50, 60K, they were fighting back with 0.11Ks, like getting into like fight matches on Twitter because someone made a comment about whatever 60K was working on at the time, and 60K just couldn't handle it. It was too hot in the kitchen, but I think 60K was like, I'm not leaving the kitchen because ego won't let me. That person's run by ego, like textbook ego. If you showed that person stoic philosophy, they'd explode. They wouldn't know what to do with themselves, type of thing. And it's weird, man, because this person is still um still making large cash. Um it's funny whenever my American friends ask me about this person, I tell them the story. I say to them, "What would you do if someone with no following is on Twitter taking risks, saying, I can someone guide me? I'm trying to teach my kids this topic." Would you respond with, "Have you read my book?" So what if the person did say, "Yeah, I read my book"? Then what's even worse is I think 100K would have just said, "Go to page 82. There's your answer." Really? You're building a following that way? Okay. I mean, I'm not, who am I to judge, but it's a bad look. It's a
Well,
bad look.
I like this line though, because I think I'm trying to maintain this line of observation as well, right? Because when you can say you were there back in the day, and you can as well, like any individual, like we've had individuals in our circles that have, let's say, come up similarly out of like, and I'll say the come up is as simple as moving from classroom learning as a teacher only to social media learning. Like that's a transition point that people are still discovering, that they don't have to be dependent just on their school board and their classroom and their colleagues, their in real life colleagues around them, to grow their pedagogy, right? That type of come up transition you and I went through a while back, you even further back than me. So there will be individuals that, like, there'll be individuals jumping into Twitter right now that have no idea about ditch that textbook. No idea. And they probably don't even give a damn, because now the general idea is that that's kind of a good idea. Like that philosophy is kind of embedded in a lot of different pedagogical practices. This idea that you can't be dependent on one source to rule them all, right? They would have no clue about Teach Like a Pirate, which ostensibly, or the inquiry stuff or the creativity stuff, Dan Ryder, like all these kind of things that are now kind of more embedded in, like, enough people have drank the water that everyone's kind of infected with that thinking. People are just going to come on Twitter and notice that everyone's kind of operating that way. And they may go back and check to see who are the OGs of that stuff, whether it's, equity or social emotional learning, like any of this kind of stuff, spec ed, they may bother to go back. So there's a funny kind of like a, this idea of what we have access to, that, we should 24/7 access to content, and the content creators is tricky. And this is where I don't know if it's sympathy or empathy, where 100K, I got some feels where I can think to myself, the work that it must take for them to pull down a paycheck, because I don't think that they're living in mansions, in a gold toilet seat. But there's moments of flex that make it seem like they're trying to separate the wheat from the chaff, like they're trying to sort of be in this next level, and maybe rightfully so. Maybe that's the only way to maintain your next level status, means that school boards are going to come looking for you because they believe you are next level status, right? Um, I've never had to, sorry, never had to, I've never been interested in pursuing that type of consultancy where I was using that money to feed my family And, I think both 22K and 100K, definitely 100K, have elements like this is what they use to feed themselves, right? This is what they use to live. I definitely agree with you, though, that with the ninja skills that it takes to get to that level, I want to believe that you also develop a benevolent toolkit that if someone does come to you and say, um, I need some help here, that you have a way to engage in there that ultimately doesn't put your product at risk. Because if you are connected to someone and like as you saying, being a connector, let's say you connect the two, and then they end up saying something like, well, either implicitly or explicitly, all the answers are in my book. It's 22.95 on Amazon. Like that's a burnt bridge. To me, that's a burnt bridge. And on one hand, you've lost a human connection. And on the other hand, you've lost a customer. Like it just doesn't seem wise. And if you don't have the time to do it, my hope is that your team has time to do it. If you do get to that level, like there's someone on your team that can sort of handle those sort of things. You know, yesterday, it was funny. Yesterday, so last night's dinner was Laziz. That was the decision. And this is a really vague connection, but it's hitting me right now. Talking with one of the owners there, and the conversation was actually, well, it was kind of, he started off by saying, "Hey, it's good to see you again." And I can take, what's funny about that, the way that that hit was truthfully only because it's been a while since I've been there. So whether or not it's just something he says, it reached my reality. It reached my reality because the fact is, when I said to Karen last night, "How about Laziz? It's a quick and easy pickup." I had an event last night I had to attend. Didn't really have enough grocery stuff, so I'm like, "Yeah, okay, I'll go grab Laziz. It's 5 minutes from my house." Um, so and we would get our chicken on the rocks and our chicken shawarma wrap fix for a Friday night. So I get in there and I order the stuff, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna get some of that baklava as well. So I took it, and they have it right near the cash. It's smart, right? Because you can just grab the little 6 or 8 piece, whatever the hell it is. I put it in front of me. I paid, and then you walk down the counter to get your food, and he's like, brother, come back. You forgot your baklava." I'm like, man, thanks, dude. I said, that's exactly what I did the last time. And he's like, that's why I remember. Like, he's so what I was just a throwaway, nice to see you in a little while. It was the same dude at the counter the last time I was there. And I paid for the baklava and I left the container right there on the counter. I get home and the family's like, "Where's the baklava?" I'm like, "Oh." And at that point, I'm not driving back. So he's like, he slides another one across the counter. He's like, "Take this." I'm like, "Seriously, brother, it's fine. Like, I can take that." He's like, "No, take the extra one." He said, "Please take it." And that was just, that's that. This dude, this is his place that's putting money on he's feeding his family. He's there enough. I'm going to assume he's one of the key people, whether he's the owner or the manager. He's obviously in a place of power, I will assume, because he just gave me free product. And he did it in front of staff, and he did it in front of another older dude behind the counter. And the older dude didn't say shit. So this guy had the power to kind of do that. So if he had the power, I can assume that he also was getting that was money out of his pocket that he just put in mine. It just reminds me of this moment with 100K, right? 100K and even 22K. I don't know at this point. I'm just curious, like at this point, why reblock me? And they would have had to look. See, it's not, if you block an account and the name is in the account, it's pretty easy to know who you're blocking. But they would have had to go one layer deeper to see that my name is on the account. So someone's watching the feeds.
So, bro, you pissed them off enough that he's not interested in having you around. There's
Mhm.
no magic.
Yeah.
You obviously have registered on the radar in a way that has stuck over the years and over time.
Hmm.
And let me give you the same radar, bro.
Okay.
When I went to EdTech conference in Ontario. I don't know how many years ago, and it was like I can remember. I can feel the feelings. I was accepted to do like like a poster presentation over lunch hour. So I got permission to leave Waterloo. I drove to Niagara Falls, did my poster presentation, then drove back because I couldn't stay. Um, and when I was rolling into the conference center, I saw 100K. I'm thinking maybe he's 40K then, maybe even 30K. And um, we were rolling in the same circles. And I got all my gear and I'm running to like my section to set up. And we make eye contact and I give him a wave. And he just kind of blows me off. Bro, I remember that. And ever since then, I'm not buying any of his products. I'm not supporting him in any way because as a human, now, have I ever done that to people? Yeah, I have. I'm not 100K though. Um, but it rubbed me the wrong way that this guy was too busy, too important to come over and say hi. And at that point in the game, he wasn't so popular yet that people would say to me, "Oh, come on, like he's gonna come talk to you." No, he was not. He was maybe two rungs above me where I was, kind of thing. So he was on his way up, but he wasn't there yet. And I'm just like, whatever, whatever. It is fun to watch. It is fun. I'm sorry, I do take some pleasure in watching. I guess the deficits within this individual because they are humorous. The fact that you are well, you're the mosquito, bro. You're the mosquito, and if he leaves you flying around him long enough, you're gonna agitate him to a point where he's not gonna be able to sleep because you're just gonna keep poking everywhere, even though you're this big and he's humongous. So he saw your name, he saw your mosquito name, and he tapped you out instantly. With someone who has 100K followers, he's really invested in his Twitter account because if you jumped in recently and now you're blocked, he's paying attention. He's looking at his notifications. He made the connection. So he is taking the time to do that. He has no team doing his social media. He's doing it and he's doing all kinds of weird things here, there, and everywhere. Um, but the one point of humanity I see and feel is that I guess the urge to make an income because I'll give him he did leave teaching to do his 100K gig. That's a big risk leaving leaving being a teacher in Ontario where you're getting paid really good money to go and do your circus show on the road. That's I'll give him a thumbs up for that. That takes balls, in my opinion. I'm not ready to do that, so I'll give him that. But this idea that you hang your life hangs on every sale of your book or a speaking gig to say to somebody, "Did you read my book?" I I mean, he would argue it works because look at him. He still has 100K. He's I don't know what kind of money he's making, but he's traveling around, still doing gigs on a book that you'd think is gathering dust somewhere in somebody's classroom. But his area of expertise is still pretty hot. It's not. I thought it cooled down, but now that it's not cooled down. It's pretty hot. It's just like an underground hot type of thing, and they eat it up. people are people are calling him and saying, "Come do presentations for us." And I'm sure he's charging a pretty penny, and he's got all that marketing stuff down because he's had time to put together that stuff. It's just a shame. I want to see good guys win, and I don't I don't see him as a good guy. Um, Now I will say, like, because everybody's got somebody that's going to say something negative about them, right? That's like even people who walk around trying to please everybody, that doesn't work. That doesn't work because there's somebody who's going to say He's just a people pleaser, and I'm not interested in investing time or energy in that, right? So no matter what you do or how you operate, there's always going to be people who are in your corner, and there's always going to be people speaking up against you. Me personally, I try, especially, I don't know, in the last, I don't know how many years, but I try to live a life where if someone needs help and I don't perceive any danger in helping them, I will try. But let me give you a great example. There's this person on Twitter who DM'd me one day, and they said, like, hey, this is what I'm working on. Could you help me out? I need what I'm looking for in part of my project is like a response from a teacher. And you're a teacher, so could you help me? I said, sure. Like, okay, what does this look like? So we were going back and forth. And at one point, like I started asking questions like, this doesn't make sense to me. Why are you asking questions like this? I don't feel comfortable answering your questions. And this person was pushing back pretty hard. And then I just said, you know what? I'm done. I don't want to continue doing this anymore. And they kept pushing back. And I was like, I blocked them. And then they were upset, like highly upset that they were blocked. So I unblocked them and said, just leave me alone. Like, I don't want to assist you anymore because I wasn't comfortable with how you were answering my questions. And I felt like you were being combative. And it's like, this is my time, dude. Like, I was helping you. Now it's like, it's a pain in my rear end. So I'm not doing this anymore. So every time that person sends me a DM and says, hey, how's it going? I just delete it. I don't even respond to them anymore. So, there's this guy would probably say Roland's a horrible person. And I would actually give the person two thumbs up and say, you're right. To you, I am horrible. And that's a fact. This 100K, I think, is walking around thinking everybody loves 100K. And if you're going to say something to 100K that doesn't fit with his self love, you're out. And so, whatever you did, Clough, your name is on that radar. It doesn't matter how many years have passed. It doesn't matter what you do now. 100K's got your name, and you're just no. He doesn't want you anywhere near his brand. Um, there's my story on 100K. Oh, Gary's with us. Gary says, "I agree. It's sad. It is sad, Gary. That's why I came from scarcity. So, having this great job now and having like a guaranteed paycheck every 2 weeks, I take that, right? Like I'll take it. 100K's living in another world, and there are a lot of people who are treating 100K really good. So he doesn't want to hear any pushback. But it's unfortunate because I do believe he'd probably sell more books and get more people interested in speaking to him if they could say something about his humanity. Like, even here's another thing too. I don't see now, he may be doing this behind closed doors, but I would believe for sure he'd advertise if he was doing it. I don't see him helping out the community. Like, I don't see him donating any money or participating in anything that can boost his 100K and boost his ego and boost his like name being spread around communities. You would think that you would do a civic duty. You do something. Um like donate money or time to a camp in the summer that for um less privileged people to learn about the thing that you're an expert in. Something. There's nothing. It's like, where's the machine that you could make more money if you appear to be caring about others. But I think maybe that might be too much for 100K. But I'll tell you, I always got a sleaze factor. Even from when I watch some of the early videos of 100K doing his thing, there's something awry in my opinion, but the topic was so hot. It was so hot, and this was sexy talking about this and the way 100K was doing it. And 100K, remember, he was in the classroom, so he had real life evidence of like student work. And then you and I have talked about this over the years. How long Do you have to be out of the classroom to stop calling yourself a classroom teacher? Because at one point, my issue with 100K was he was still referring to himself as a teacher, and I think you're muddying the lines there, because you could do the, well, once a teacher, always a teacher bullshit. Are you a friggin' teacher in an Ontario classroom or an Ontario school system? Yes or no? Because that's where you're gonna that's where you could potentially like have interaction with students. This person teaches AQ courses. He probably calls himself a professor. Okay, I teach AQ courses. I don't call myself a professor. I don't. I'm not a professor. I'm an AQ instructor slash facilitator, and I love it. But I'm not. When I write a book, I'm not gonna put in it, I'm a professor. But that's just me. That's just me. 100K
I
baby.
wonder, has Gary been blocked by anybody? Gary, you been blocked?
People are like searching the internet for Gary's because he's such a good dude. Gary, I hope your ears were burning because I was talking about you yesterday. Cheers, Gary.
Big cheers to Gary. Giving up his Saturday to spend the likes of his valuable time. And Gary, I know your time is valuable, and this is why the reason I say this, because my time is valuable. So I appreciate that sort of like universal. You ain't getting it back because you can't make new. So, um,
Well, here, look at this. As you spoke, Gary decided to. You want to read that, Chris?
I'm energized by true. So Gary says, I'm energized by true collaboration and meaningful interaction, including pushback. I know that my ego is bruised at times, but long term, it has always enriched my practice and growth. Yep. And this is, I think, where maybe there's a line. Maybe there's a line that we're prepared to step over just to kind of like peek what's going on the other side of the fence. I don't know if that same thing exists for individuals that are, their bread and butter is consultation and publishing, right? I think I have to accept that if you are that type of self-awareness and benevolence has to kind of be parked a little bit in the pursuit of success. And I'll say monetary clout, like that type of success. I think that idea of being open to pushback is a privileged position, because what that means is that you privileged or brave. Well, don't put brave in there for lack of better words. Privilege means that, it doesn't matter the pushback, you'll always sort of you'll bounce back okay. And that's a privilege that not every educator has or every creative has. They feel a higher sense of risk because they think this is the thing that they're creating, this is the last thing I'll ever create. It's that dire. Like if I don't know if my next thing is going to pay for groceries. Got enough. Yeah, so Gary hasn't been blocked, but don't post enough. That's fair. That's fair. Um, yeah, either brave or is it brave? I'd say it's brave. So Gary, I'll take it one step deeper. If you're not posting much and you're sort of actively engaging in pushback, it's because you're doing it in person. And that's definitely a higher level. That's a higher level version. Especially, you're thinking that you could run into that person in the staff room the next day. So then you're sort of thinking yourself, damn, I got to make sure that I'm doing this relationships thing in a decent way, because I don't get to just block. I'm going to see that person tomorrow. I'm going to see them in the parking lot. I'm going to see them maybe at the staff meeting. Hell, they could even become my principal one day. So yeah, I like that. I like the stakes involved there. Chids, I hijacked. I did not think that we were going to spend this much time feeding 100K's algorithm, because they're selling books because of what we're talking about. Gary, I will tell you, I don't know how long you've known Chids. How long have you known Gary? Chids
Shoot.
about?
Well, I met Gary at a Super Bowl party like 100 years ago, so we've known each other for a long time.
Right.
We've never gone to a Blue Jays game together, anything like that, but I met
You
him
ever
at a
met up?
party.
Yep. I was gonna say, you ever met face to face in a staff room? Have you been on staff together ever?
No, no,
No.
on staff, no. But Gary, I would spend a lot of time in his student success room last year when I worked at his school. Like when I was in his
Gotcha.
school, yeah.
Yep. I guess all I'm just kind of like, how aware Gary is of your um the depth of your digital pedagogy, like how long you've kind of been there. So there's this kind of funky thing that can happen where you've probably been doing the digital long enough that the risk of running into an individual or or the topic in real life is higher. I mean, you choose to invest in this place, you're going to meet people that are either like-minded or counter-minded. So I've always thought in listening to your stories that you've managed to be aware of, I won't say the not risk, but maybe the responsibility that comes along with having open air conversations like this. And if 100K ever reached out, I would love to have that conversation about it. I would love to have the conversation. Part of it is I on a human level, like, dude, if 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 I'm if I've misstepped in a way that has seems to be harmful or painful, I'd like to know. I'm at the point of saying I don't think I have. I'm engaging in an open. I try to engage in an open and actually open but private method because I didn't have the dude's text number. Like, it's not like I could call him. And then I was removed. So, anyways, I like this start. I think it's a good reminder, at least for me, over the summer, about the resources that are important for me for my growth. This individual is not important to my growth. So, I mean, I have kind of like a uh low risk threshold, even in sort of bringing him up as a conversation point. Um, but I do appreciate, Chids, the fact that you brought it back into my feed because there's a funny pattern going on here. Some
Bro,
funny business going on here, sir.
bro, I thought of you right away because so 22K calls out 100K, and I'm laughing because I've seen 22K lose their mind over similar stuff as 100K. So I was like, basically, you got this is how I see it. You got two celebrities going at each other, and one saying, "How dare you do this?" when the other one dares to do that all the time. Like, it was just, I enjoyed it. I'm sorry, it fed the side of me that is not always sensitive and caring.
And
Um,
they both have the same teachable. That's
yes.
yeah. That's the
Except
funny.
I see one of them as more of a professor than the other one, which is
Mhm,
interesting.
mhm.
I see one more esteemed and one a little bit more sleazier, dare I say the word. One
Yeah,
snake oil salesman and the other one is like true academic in
I
my
think so.
if I choose to compare the two.
I would say too, one of them actively engaging in the equity side and the give back side. Does rep that side, right? And has stepped in with their branded Twitter profile. They've stepped in and kind of done the whoa, hold up here. That's not cool. Hold up here. I need you to rethink this. Hold up here. That was not the right thing to say. So they've pushed, I'll say, maybe, is that the difference between a 22 and 100K? Does 100K, because they can sidestep some of the sort of the meat and potatoes of education, you know what I mean? That you could sort of there's an austerity there. You can sort of remain at 100K because you're not, shit slinging a little bit. I don't know. That'd be interesting. That'd be interesting. That's a next little kind of next level thing to dig down into. The individuals that have managed to maintain high clout to look to see. Well, we actually no, I don't have. Sorry, as I'm answering this, we know this because a lot of them have been called out the last few years. I mean, that was, I think, one of the major pushbacks on the Teach Like a Pirate, that it just wasn't doing equity right. Not in a way that they didn't move at the speed of the community. The community wanted something else. Now they might have gone there now, but who knows?
Yeah, I don't think I'll go
I
there.
will say 100K is doing equity with, because 100K also has, part of their thing is also helping publishers publish, helping writers publish, right? So they have diversified there, and they're representing, some neurodivergency there. They're dipping their toe in equity.
Um, yes, they're
Pivot.
dipping their toe that way.
You need to pivot. You need to get us off this train and
Okay,
get us
so this
somewhere else.
this is where I would like to stay in EDU, Ontario
Okay,
EDU, if that's okay with you.
absolutely.
I want to talk about something that the Minister of Education said
Hmm.
that hit me at my core. But first, Gary says that professionally he's had his questions avoided during PD rollout. Um, and I don't want to minimize that, Gary. It happens, right? When you ask critical questions, um, and you would like an honest response. I feel like we don't get honest responses. I feel like there's a lot of sidestepping in EDU, and the worst part, or the best part, depending on how you look at it, in my opinion, is if somebody were to actually get to know you, they would understand like what everybody else who knows you says. Because when I bring up your name or it comes up to me, it's always the same thought, like, good dude, works hard for his students, knows his material, wants to be helpful. Like, it's positive stuff, right? About how you operate as a human and as an educator. So the questions you're asking are not coming from a place of like a gotcha moment. You seriously want to know. And I think that's even more dangerous than the gotcha person, because people are like, oh, shoot, Gary asked like a tough question, like a fair, tough question. It's not being answered. And I think that looks bad. I think one of my issues is I think sometimes I will actually answer honestly, and then everybody looks at me like I'm crazy. So, um, I- Gary, I'll just say this and then I'll move on. I had that moment the other day. I had a moment where I was dealing with a situation, and I felt like the person emailing me was not giving me the person emailing me was dancing around an idea. And I just came out and said, I feel like you're dancing around the idea. Can you just tell me what it is that you want to tell me? Because I was told by others when I was debriefing about this, they're like, "Well, you that was hardcore." I'm like, "How is it hardcore that I'm asking the person genuinely to just say what they want to say?" Because when you do that, I can then look at my role, and I'm here to help, so I'm trying to find avenues into situations. If you're dancing around an idea and you're trying to be polite, I would rather you just tell me what it is that's on your mind, because time is of the essence. Because everything I do is slow. And some people don't want to hear that. They're like, no, no, you can't say that here. We need to move fast. I don't move fast. The the universe won't allow it to happen. It's not me trying to be slow. It's there are layers, right? Um, And people told me, wow, you came at them pretty hard. I said, you call that hard? Me just saying, can you please tell me what it is you want to tell me? Can we stop dancing? I'm not trying to be difficult. I'm trying to get to the bottom of what's happening so we can proceed. But that person's dancing because their feelings are going to be hurt. They don't want to deal with the reality of the situation. And I'm like, give me the reality so I can deal with the situation. So Gary, there's a lot of people that they don't want to answer honestly because the honest answer looks bad. And I'm like, what? Where are we living that nothing bad ever happens? Makes no sense to me.
Mhm.
But I'm just one person, and I'm in a dangerous, Chris. We're in a dangerous position, eh?
Oh,
Mid middle
do tell.
aged, middle
Oh,
my perception, middle aged,
I wasn't prepared for the middle age to be
sorry,
primary touch point on this, but please do continue.
middle aged professionals thinking critically and kind of living by our values at this
Mm,
point in the game, that
mhm,
is dangerous to a lot of people because we're asking questions, we're looking for efficiencies. We're kind of tired of playing the game. So now we got a new game board. Like, this is the
mhm,
game I'm on now, and you're 3 steps back. So what's the answer to the question or whatever? That's dangerous right now for everybody. Is dangerous. But okay, so that was long. I'm sorry, Gary, but Gary's dangerous too. Gary, I'm sorry. I'm going to call you middle-aged. I'm going to call you educated. From what I can tell, you have a stellar reputation. I'm sorry, you're dangerous. Um, Rochelle, welcome to Decoded
morning,
Podcast.
Rochelle.
with Chris Clough and Roland Chidiak, season 6, episode 37, 255. Rochelle says, or professional suggestions ignored by consultants. Again, Rochelle will know this. I think Chris will know this. I think Gary will know this. Consultants live in a weird space. Right above them is a superintendent that they report to. Right below them are all the people that they kind of work with to help. They make a suggestion, people jump. How high do I have to jump? You're the consultant, you tell me. They're not going to be answering questions in a negative way. Their boss above them is not going to be happy with that negative response. Superintendent. So there's politics at play, right? Um, yeah, so I won't name names, but I know a consultant that's been pushed a little bit lately, and they won't answer the questions because the answers don't fit in line with the vision of the system that we're working in. You can't answer that way because it's going to cause controversy, it's going to cause problems. So what do? You just ignore the questions, but then you're not a consultant. And maybe that's why the universe says to me, you're not going to be a consultant or a principal, Roland, because you're probably going to answer the questions in a way that's going to piss everybody off. And it's like, but you asked me the question. Here's the answer. If you don't like the answer, how do we find a way to change things so that the answer becomes a good one? Nobody wants to do any work. They just want the right answer all the time. Again, I'm in a weird place, right? My work is hyper. It's hyper. It's one kid at a time. So I'm like, well, what about this layer? What about that layer? And they're like, don't talk about that. Don't do this. Don't do that. But it's right in front of me. How do I ignore it? Well, they won't tell me to ignore it, but they'll tell me to play with it. And then they won't say they said that. It's implied. Anyway,
I think I had a thought that just popped up. I'll drop it. We can move on. But I think there's a fundamental flaw, and it's quite a powerful flaw, and it maybe flaw, maybe tension that exists in the way that we. I think the way that we is it assume, not assume, the way that we set up our expectations of consultants. Because on one hand, I think there's this kind of weird thing, and Rochelle touched on it, this weird thing where we expect them to take our classroom context, our specific classroom context into consideration. And somehow, if they're able to do that, it makes them more credible. And then I think the upper tension, so that's the downward upward tension, whatever that is, from the bottom to the top, sort of from the classroom to the consultant. But then the downward pressure, I think, is from, as you mentioned, the supers, for these individuals to kind of represent a broader agenda, probably a more diverse agenda, as in things kind of going on outside of those little specific needs that a school has. And I've really come to sort of kind of, I guess, accept the fact that really, like, consultants need to be of like they're otherworldly. Like, they almost exist in this weird space of, like, I don't know how you could and I know I couldn't. I've kind of accepted this. It would be very difficult to. I feel like I would lose myself in the position. Like, I really would. I'd kind of get lost. Like, who am I? I mean, and we could kind of be cheeky and say, well, if you're there for the students, but the only way you can get to the students is kind of through the classroom teacher's experience. And the only way you can get to the resources is through the superintendent's purse string. So, like, how do you ever achieve an authenticity that allows you to exist wholly in both spaces? I think that's, I've said to on a couple times to a couple friends when they were talking about, they're thinking about applying for consultancy, and it's a little bit, I have a similar opinion of, becoming an administrator, is that you have the most creative power as a teacher. You have the most creative freedom as a teacher. There's yes. There's stresses that come along with it. Yes, I can see that. But as far as the stuff that you think, um, I think is the stuff that sort of like really feeds at least my sort of teaching experience is that I know I'm not going to get it if I decide to go consultancy route. I just don't. I won't have access to the stuff that I need anymore. So I guess maybe I'm just kind of commenting on a little bit of the empathy that I feel for these individuals that do the job, because I know for myself, after having this, I was the beneficiary of experience of VPs. I was the beneficiary of the experience that helped me to decide whether or not it was for me. I've been the same beneficiary of experience from individuals that have done the consultancy, and they're run ragged, like they're over agendaed, right? And their time is over leveraged. So I'm pretty happy in my own little 125 followers. Like it's just I'm okay being in this small space. And I feel pretty creative and pretty stoked to do the work that I do being in this small space. So cheers, that's all I gotta say about that.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you for saying that. Um, I gotta tell you, as we talk though, it still stings me a little bit, and I don't know why. I guess I need to continue to um, reflect on. It still stings that I'm not a principal.
Mm,
It stings me. It's something I always wanted to do, and even though I see clearly it's not the right place for me to be,
yeah.
um, I guess I don't know. I don't know what more to say. I need to do more reflection, but it does sting because I think I I know I could be one, and I think I would be okay. I think I would be an okay one, and I think I'm open to learning about me and all that good stuff. But the way it's set up and the things I'm seeing, it's like I always say, I'm not ready to give up my family yet. And I say yet with the growth mindset. I'm not ready to give up my family. I feel like I'm living a pretty good life and I'm going to lose some of that because of the service I might want to provide. You get what I'm saying?
Mhm,
I think you and I want to say are on the same page that way. Um and even as I say it, like I think of your wife, and I don't think your wife has given up her family, but you tell me about some of the strains and how, she's rolling with her work and stuff. And it doesn't like it's not like a sales pitch that I want to jump into. And when I see my colleagues and how they're rolling, it's like you're not selling it. But some people are trying to sell it that it's all peachy keen. I'm like, oh, that's funny because your words don't match the actions I see. You're never home. You text me at weird times because you can't respond during the times I text you because this and this. It's like best job in the world, but you don't have time for anything else.
mhm,
I guess I don't want a job like that. The best job, but there's no time for anything else. I like my time for other things, and I can do other things being a teacher. But it stings because it's deep, right? It runs deep, the sting and why it stings, but I need to move on and learn. I need to sit
mhm.
with my sting. Okay. Um, can we talk about the minister?
Do it.
The minister, well, first Gary says he feels similarly. I'd be great for a school community. Thanks, Gary. Put me in, coach, and then maybe you'll see I'm not. I don't know.
Mm.
I don't know. Anyway, thank you, Gary. I feel the same about you and Rochelle. And Clough, I think you'd be a fantastic administrator. But I guess we'd never see each other anymore.
Well, and part of it is if you were to solely extract the credentials from the life or the experiences from the life, but I'm going to say this, I'll say something differently. Me knowing what you expect out of wellness for yourself and wellness for your family and wellness for your creativity, I don't think you would be a good administrator because I can't see how you can get to that other stuff. And it proved me wrong, but I'm going to just spin it slightly. I don't see how, because you as administrator is only one part of your whole life, right? So if you need those other elements in order to be a good administrator. So yes, on credentials, on conversation, on mindset, absolutely. But the part that we don't often say is, would you have access to any of the great stuff that you are right now in front of me when you become the administrator? Can you actually tap into that? You'll bring it apart as like this is your lived experience. But my experience, I'll speak for myself. I asked that more rhetorical for you. I would say absolutely for me, I would not. I would be constantly in this state of either questioning my wellness myself, or somebody else very close to me would be questioning my wellness. I don't believe I am built to walk that walk. I really don't anymore. And there was a time where I thought I would be. And yeah, it's like I do have a very particular set of skills that would be excellent in that sort of in different contexts as far as being a principal or a VP that would work very well. But the fact that I wanna be home with my family, the fact that I wanna go write poetry, the fact that I wanna do acting on the side, like, I can't those are real impediments to me being able to invest in the job of administration. Those are absolutely concrete bedrock I guess you can't have concrete and bedrock. They are bedrock, impediments in my world. Those things are the things that anchor me to my own wellness. So then things like work have to flow through that, right? And I'm okay with doing like that sort of water analogy. If that's the water flowing through, that riverbed, I get it. Eventually it's going to wear it down and soften it. But you don't get rid of the riverbed. That water needs something to flow through, and that job has to flow through the other elements of my life that are absolutely critical. And being an administrator is not a critical feed for me. So I wish I had to sip to sort of like, just kind of like, hey, there's a few drops left in here. It's pretty empty cup though.
Listen, a really cool thing of my growth is hearing you say what you said about me, and I'm not like it doesn't. I'm not bothered by it. I
Mhm.
I think well, I respect you, number one, so I give you credence that maybe I don't give other people who might say the same thing and I would disagree with. Plus, you and I have talked about all kinds of stuff over the years. It's like I value your opinion, whether I agree with it or not. And in this case, I hear exactly what you're saying. And I guess you're partly right because I've not jumped into it. Right. So if I were in it and you'd say that, then I'd be like, oh, shoot, I better find a way to balance myself out if I'm going to keep doing this type of work. But no, I appreciate your feedback based on everything you've heard and seen from me. Um, and I don't doubt what you say. So it's like if I did want to do that job badly, how would I what would I do to fill the voids that might come, or how would I balance things? I don't know. And I know some people, they don't their balance doesn't look like what I consider balance to be. Their balance is extreme: 100, 100, 100, 100, and then 25, 25, then back 100, 100, 100, 100, 100, 25, 25. When I see that though, I don't that's a bad way to play with your battery, in my
Mhm.
opinion, right? Scientifically, that's not a good way to deal with a battery. So I don't know. But anyway, it's not for me because I'm not there. So
Mhm.
it's all good. The Minister of Education, I have my wand. It's not mine, it's my son's. I have my son's magic wand because yesterday I saw a tweet where the NDP critic for education, I believe she is, was questioning. There's a video of her questioning the Minister of Education. And my understanding is that she was basically saying, like, asking him the tough questions about like school repairs and funding properly for students with special needs and things of that nature. And they were talking about a demonstration school, so a school for exceptional students. I don't even like that it's called a demonstration school. I feel like it's insulting in a way. Like, anyway, it's a school. They're talking about a school for special needs, and I'm not sure which need exactly they maybe were referring to, but the minister, in his response to her, said that the staff at this demonstration school do magic. They're doing wonderful things with the students. They do magic every day. And I say, no, minister, it's not magic. It's hard friggin' work. And the people you have there are special people that you need to keep there because they're working with a part of our population that requires all kinds of things that the everyday middle of the road classroom teacher isn't going to do or can't do or doesn't have the skills to do. And I don't want to say I took offense because everybody takes offense to everything, but I was like, no, minister, it's not magic because you and I have that fluency. We've had it for years. You and I chasing squirrels, Chris Clough. The friggin' work we do and the work your wife does and the work my wife does and the work Gary does and Rochelle does is not friggin' magic. It's hard friggin' work by people who care about the people in front of them. We care so much that we enjoy difficulties in our life because of the care we put for these children and their families. And for me, it was just another nail in this guy's coffin. Like I thought you were a doofus before, and it was amplified times 100 when you said that this school, these staff, they do magic because you dismiss what really happens. And it hit me in the feels because in my line of work, people want things to just magically fix themselves. Like I'm going to wave this wand and I'm going to solve poverty issues and mental health issues and social issues for families and children that have been struggling for years. I walk in, I'm supposed to just do one of these and fix everything. And at first, I didn't know what to think at first. But now that I'm solo, I don't have a team. You know, I operate in a way that I think is like just for the situation. So when I have people telling me, why didn't you do this and why didn't you do that? Well, that's because in the situation I was in, doing this and that, they were not an option. The option was it was me and the student. I think those are hilarious, and I can tell how people are asking questions. Sometimes people they're telling me you should have done this. And I'm like, okay, thank you for telling me. I'll keep it in mind for the next time this happens. And then other people are truly wondering, hey, I have a real wonder, Roland. What happened with this? Or how come you couldn't do that? And then I respond to them and I try not to take it personally because I know that the people there are frustrated, right? Well, if I'm getting called in, there's frustration. Everybody's frustrated. And there's been lots of learning loss and there's lots of loss. Then they want gains. They want gains. This thing doesn't work in real life. I can't do anything with it. I'm holding a wand for anybody who's listening to the podcast. I can't just wave this and make gains. My gains look different than the gains everybody else wants. I had a gain the other day where I was working with a student that is new to me, and I got the student to come to the school and engage in talk about something the student's interested in and then something I'm interested in, and we met in the middle and it was friggin' fantastic. That was a gain. But then when we left the school, everybody's like, there's a loss. And these are the moments where I need to be quiet and close my mouth and open my ears because what I want to say is there's no wand. The student wasn't going to stay at the school no matter what I did. Did you ask the student to stay? Like as if, I'm like, hey kid, let's get out of here now. You can go home and play on your Xbox and I can go to my next student. Like, is that what you think I'm saying to people? Did you ask them to stay? Yes. I suggested they stay. Can I make them stay? No. Just like you haven't been able to make them go for a year. But now you think I'm going to wave one of these and they're going to stay? Like, I want to call it a bad word, but it's not fair to call it a bad word. It's just people are at the bottom of their battery for this stuff, right? They're frustrated. there's loss, there's sadness, there's issues, there's ego. And then they're like, "Can you just wave this thing and make it happen?" It hit me hard, bro. Magic. There's no magic. There's just work. And I don't know if and honest to God, if someone can tell me, seriously, I'm being serious here. If someone can tell me how to do my job so I can speed up relationship building and getting a kid to comply, seriously, I'm in. And I think if I could spend 2 straight weeks every day with this student, I think we would make the gains that some people want to see. But then the minute I step away, I see failure. I have a student who, when I started to step back, they started to struggle again. So there's two things here. Number one, I thought that we had built some capacity so that they could do things without me, but they haven't shown that they can do that. So did I leave too soon? Did I miss something? Did I misread something? They weren't ready for me to leave. And I hate that whole idea. Are they ready for you to leave? I felt like they were ready for me to step out a little bit. And as soon as I stepped out, they started doing negative things. It's like, okay, do I need somebody to tell me how to manage my time? I don't know. If I could spend 2 straight weeks, 10 days with the student I just met, I think we would make progress. But then I would need to step back because I have 18 other kids that need me to step in. So I do it hit, man, the magic. They do magic. That word triggered me because I don't the guy doesn't know what he's talking about. He's not an educator, he's a politician. I get that. He has to make decisions. But I also believe, like, if you look at the politics, he's not making decisions to build education. He's making decisions to break it down. So you've got a guy who doesn't know what he's talking about, and he's trying to break the system. So
Hmm.
I don't have a lot of love. But the magic word, oh,
It's the first time I've ever heard it said at that level. I've gotten that many times, many times as a cert. I received that as when I was at Access at the suspension and expulsion program. It happened when I was in guidance. It happened when I was in student success, but I'd never heard it said at a table like that. And what that does is it kind of it belies, as you said, the complexity of doing the work. It suggests that there's shortcuts that only a few people understand. Like they can kind of like they're divining kind of like the inner nature of education, right? It also suggests that the power to do that is compartmentalized, that only a few are able to, right? It creates this mysterious, abstract kind of approach to education that, I'm not stripping hope and compassion and aspiration and inspiration out of it. But I think you're right. I do agree with you. This idea that you would even say that in a professional discussion, that's what people say. You know what? Okay, so here, that's what people say that, when they don't accept the fact that the person in the goofy outfit is actually that Goofy's actually goofy when they go to Disneyland. That they don't simultaneously say to themselves, there's also a human being walking in that sweaty, damn stinky outfit. It's the they talked about it back in the day with the iPhone. There's that comment around any any advanced technology or complex technology can seem like magic to individuals that don't understand it. For the longest time, I honestly never really looked into what is actually going on when I touch the screen on my iPhone. It's electricity. Like there's nothing magical yet. What they sell about the experience is that it's a magical experience to have one of these things running your life, right? So the idiot at the top of the food chain, Minister of Education, saying something like it's magical creates such confusion, and at the same time clearly indicates the privilege within which that demonstration school is operating because he wouldn't be calling it out unless they had some sort of funding, or either they have a line on funding or they're somehow making things happen without the funding, which is that other side of magical thinking. I've had guidance heads to me in the past say, "Can't you just make this happen?" And I've always cautioned anyone coming into an alt ed space, be very cautious and wary and savvy. Listen to the words when it suggests that something that needs to be done for this kid is not grounded in sound pedagogy and productivity and grind on both the teacher and the student's part. And those are a lot of different counterweights to balance. You do grind every day. I do grind every day. I've said to other people, nope, nope. This child is not ready to do this. Nope, nope. We don't have the resources to do that. Nope, nope. I'm not prepared to do that because of XYZ. And clearly dissipated that poof magical cloud of magic. On a really basic level here, I am prepared to understand the aggregate of education. Things cost money, things cost time, things cost wellness. And to sort of pay attention to those while you're doing your job is really, really difficult because our compassion, our hope, our humanness kind of steps in and overlays and say, I want to do this thing because I want to help this thing. I want to do this thing because I want to help this person. And if you operate that way, you'll feel the wear and tear. You will feel the wear and tear on yourself. When someone weaponizes that against you, that's when they start to talk about it as magic, or couldn't you just, or thank goodness you are the one helping this child. It allows other individuals that need to be jumping in not to jump in because you've got it. You're good. And, sometimes we are, sometimes we're not. And I'm not going to be dependent on my uppers to tell me whether I'm good or not good. I'm getting better at calling that out myself. But I'll tell you, one of the starting points to a leader not really understanding what their staff is going through is for them to say something magical goes on in that classroom. So, and to have the leader of our educational system say that, then one think, what a ding dong.
Teachers are famous for getting things done.
22K famous or 100K famous?
They're 100K famous of getting things done without
Sweet.
the budget,
Mhm.
right? We make stuff happen. I'm guilty of it. We're all guilty of it. Lately I've been looking at situations like, okay, how do I do this with what I got? How do I do this with what I got? And in my opinion, my principal's great. If I ask my principal for resources or support, my principal does what she can to make it happen. She does. And there's some
Mhm.
things she can't do, and that's fine and understandable. Um, but even I'm looking like, what do I do here? How do I do this? How do I do this in a way that I'm not stepping on other people's toes? Because that's a whole other thing too. I had a conversation with a classroom teacher the other day. Now remember, I'm looking at a situation from one kid's perspective. One kid, one family. That's my world. The classroom teacher's world is like 28 kids, 28 perspectives and families. So when I talked to this teacher, it was actually a fantastic conversation. And her and I know each other. I worked with her many years ago. So I said to her, this is what we need to do to help this kid, in my opinion, and in the social worker's opinion. The teacher pushed back, rightly so, and it was great because we had a conversation because she was being honest with me. She's like, I can't do that, Roland. These are the layers. I'm like, okay, I get it. I said, don't worry. I still remember what it's like to be in your position. I get it. Where can we meet in the middle? Like, what can we do to rightfully be able to say to the student and parents, hey, look, we bent. Now it's your turn to bend. Because I do believe that the students are accountable too. This is what we did to meet you here. What are you doing to meet us here? It's not just us. You're part of this process. She's like, well, I think we can do this and this. I'm like, awesome. Call up the social worker. Hey, this is, and I told the teacher, I'm going to tell the social worker because I work with the social worker. So it was one of those things where it was like you got 3 power players. I'm not e okay, you got 3 players. In this situation, the social worker it gets a lot of clout. Okay? So I tell the teacher, "I'm gonna tell the social worker what you just told me. I'm not gonna do it behind your back because I'm here for the one kid. That's my priority. What you're telling me is kinda going against him. Not a problem because I understand you, but in my chain of command, I got to do this. So I'm letting you know up front it's going to happen. And then that person's going to push back. So it's coming. So you can be upset with me now or later, whatever you pick. But this is what's happening. So I talk to the social worker. Social work calls the principal, lays it out. The principal checks in with the classroom teacher. The principal comes back to me and the social worker and says, "Here are your two options." Because what you guys want is gonna destroy all kinds of heavy lifting that this teacher's been doing in collaboration with the other teachers. I got full respect for that. I don't I don't I don't have any issue with that. So I say to the social worker, "Thank you for doing what you're doing because if I said what you said, they kick me out of the building." And I'm like, I know that that's a lane I'm not pulling into. You need to step into that lane. So at the end of this day, we came to a decision, and we came to a decision that made everybody happy, made the teacher happy, the principal, myself, the student, the parents, and the social worker. Does it always happen that way? No. But it started with an honest conversation. It started with everybody coming to the table with their perspective and position. And I think I'm reasonable. So I say to people, well, where can we meet? Because I'm over here and you're over here. We're not even close. Where can we, how close can we get that's reasonable?
Mhm.
And I got that. And the teacher got that. That was a lot of hard work. And at the end, it went against the original wishes of the student, which the social worker was really confused about. But I said, there are lots of layers here. The student can't have everything they want. And I laughed because then I said, well, watch what happens next year. We start the school year and the student was going to complain about the situation we're now in that everybody agreed to because it made sense and it means that the student has to do some work. The student just doesn't get to walk away scot free. They're part of the process. They got to do some work. So having said all that, if you're not going to have the conversations and you're not going to get into it, nothing's going to change. And if you're looking for change, it's not easy. And you got to know, like I said to the social worker, I'm out. I tagged them in. I said, you're in. I'm not going down this road with this classroom teacher and this principal. I have no clout here. In some places, I seem to have a little bit more clout than a social worker, but in this case, I had nothing. They weren't going to listen to me, and I'm like, my job is to help the kid. So, social worker, can you help me help the kid? Yes, of course. Okay. The magic, bro. Oh, the
Yeah.
magic. I wish I could. If we could wave a wand, nobody would be in school. Because you just waved a wand, you'd have compliance, people doing things you want them to do. Parents would have kids that listen to them. Like it would. And another thing I tweeted yesterday, the word no. The word no is I'm sensitive to the word no now because I've never in my tweet to this one teacher yesterday, I basically said I've never heard the word no in my 23 years of teaching, 22, 23 years of teaching. I've heard the word no, but it's never hit me like it has over the last 2 years because I've heard it so many times over the last 2 years. It's kind of weird for somebody to say yes to me these days. Like, do you want to do that? No. How? Nope. Do you want to try? Nope. Can we try? Nope. Oh, like it's like I'm so sensitive to the word no that it's like everybody's telling me no, like it's nobody's business. So why can't I say no when I want to say no? You get what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
it's coming at me from everybody at every level. So guess what? I should be flexing some of this too. And I have and I will continue to flex the no because it means yes to something else. I'm trying to find with these kids that say no to me, I'm trying to find what they're saying yes to and why they're saying yes to those things. and try to help them understand that what they're saying yes to is harming them more than the no. They feel like the no, what they're saying no to is going to harm them badly. And I'm like, it's not. You got to have some vision, but they might not be able to see because of their circumstances. Save me, Gary. Gary says the challenge is how we duplicate that experience where all players are willing to engage in that type of collaboration and dialogue. It's great, Gary, but you and I know that some people don't want any collaboration. They don't want any dialogue for whatever reason. And it's friggin' hard work. That was one kid, you know, that was one.
I like the nope. I like the nope. I like the no. I think I messaged you this week in a not probably in a polo saying that I had several conversations this week where I asked individuals to stop doing a thing. They would say we should try, this in reference to a couple different kids. The person speaking for the kid and about the kid was very hopeful, very positive, but not very productive. They were sort of identifying character attributes that I didn't necessarily disagree with, but I felt as if those character attributes were sort of setting up a wall and we weren't getting the evidence of this thing. So I'm down for talking about the amazingness of my colleagues and the students that we work with, but I also like to have the evidence of it that's a little bit it's manifest more than just my belief system and specific to the magic of my relationship with the kid. So one of the conversations I had with a parent, and I said, look, I get it. I get it. You believe that your child's a mathematical genius. I said, but they're not producing work anymore because they believe they're a mathematical genius. And I'm not going to dispute the reality that the belief system necessarily. I'll just say that in our current education system there has to be something produced to account for that, even a conversation, and they're not willing to sort of do the conversation because they actually believe that they are mathematically a genius. I said, so maybe we need to pull back on some of the compliments, or we're just mindful of when we're presenting those compliments to the actual individual that doesn't know what to do with the compliments other than just kind of hoard it. And it doesn't spin the motivational ball up to keep growing and learning and proving and exploring and stay curious. It's insulating them from the responsibility of duty, which is to be a student and demonstrate their student side in some way, right? Their job, if you will. So yeah, I like that. I've this past week I've been saying nope, 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 and I feel like it's the dark arts. That's the dark arts to the magic, right? So
Now, I don't know what you think of this, but I recently heard about uh, a colleague of mine that is brand new to teaching, and they're already flexing the no, like, no, I'm not doing any work on the weekend. Um, and I'm trying to remain open. I'm trying to remain open. What I'm closed to is this idea that for me, when you start something new, you have to you have to you have to build your capacity in that space
mhm.
so that you can get to a point where you can see what I'm going to refer to as shortcuts. You can see shortcuts, you can see different ways of doing something. So when you start doing it and you know that you have to put in time to get better, and you're saying that the only time you're going to put in is from 8:30 to 3. um I'm like, I get that you want to spend your time doing other things, but I think in from my perspective you're delaying becoming better at what you do between 8:30 and 3 because you absolutely refuse to engage with it on your time. It's a tough one for me because I think I'm stuck in I don't want to be stuck in the mentality of like doctors, how they work for like 4 days in a row and they're exhausted, but they're in the emergency. Somebody comes in with like a knife in their chest and they're like, I haven't slept in 4 days, but I'm going to assist this person with this like potentially life-ending injury. And it's like,
Mhm.
that makes no sense to me. But I don't want to get stuck there. But I'm like, you're walking around bragging that you don't do any of your profession on your time when we all know that you have to put in the reps like to see things get better and experience things. I think it's the arrogance that hit me like, nope, I'm a teacher from 8:30 to 3 and nothing happens after those hours. I was like, "Oh, that's not a good look." And maybe it's not about the look, but I'm like, you walk around saying that out loud and you've just started your career? Really? You think you're that good? Maybe you are that good. I know that their colleagues don't particularly appreciate it because they're seeing it as arrogance like I am. And they're like, I go home and do these things so that I'm putting in the reps. I'm like learning how to do this so that later on I'm fluent. I can write a report card comment and not spend a whole weekend doing it, knowing that sometimes I am going to hit a report card where it's going to be tough sledding because it's hard. It's going to be hard for me to say what I want to say about this student's progress. But for the most part, I can sling them out because I put in the time, I put in the reps. What are your thoughts about that? Because I know they're already saying no, but I I think that they've from my vantage point, they've not built any capacity around the no in that situation. That's just my thinking. I'd love to hear your thoughts about that. Brand new teacher, like just walked in the classroom is like, I only work during the school day. Okay. So when do you get everything done? Like when do you get your report cards done? Is it right that my wife spends weekends working on report cards? No. But the reality is they have to get done somewhere and they're not going to get done during the school day.
I mean, without having, I mean, the instinctively my brain goes, if the work is getting done, then the comment is moot. I kind of go like that, right? But the fact that the comment is made, I think it's the necessary, like, kind of fly in the ointment, so to speak. Because okay, we can dig into motivation. We can dig into motivation and kind of, but that I think might take us too close to, well, it takes us very close to, we'll inevitably have to judge whether or not we like their motivation or not. So if we just take it at face value of pushing back and saying, this is going to happen during the bells, I like the controversy that that stirs up. Part of it is, in a staff of 80, you may never even notice their mindset. It may never come to bear because it could just be a comment right now that they're saying they feel like they got to say it because they feel like they're being asked to do something that they're not prepared to do. It could be a brag, as in they actually managed to get it all done during the day. I mean, there's lots of different forms that the statement could be flowing out of. I would say my starting point, though, is I have no problem with them saying that. I think then what I would do is I'd watch to see how do they grow relative to that statement. So I will say that so my driver for keeping work at work, I've found the balance between that and keeping up with my work. And I can speak to that, but that's a whole other podcast. But I can say I've found that. So if I were bold enough to say that to somebody, I wouldn't be weaponizing my productivity nor defending my productivity. I would just be making a statement of fact. My students, my relationships with my kids are good. I'm respected by my colleagues. I deliver and in spec ed, there's a whole lot of paperwork that's deliverable on top of or in addition to your assessment and your lesson design, right? So I've never never missed a deadline, and I've never decided to go home and spend time with my family, and that caused me missing a deadline. Part of this is moving away from the bold statement of never to the more confident of statement of, because saying never is like this great big kind of like get out of my face kind of a statement. What I'll choose instead to say is that I'll choose when I do schoolwork. I'll choose. Um, I may read the email you send me. Like at first, a starting statement might be, I will not read email on my mobile phone. Well, I'm more of the place now where I was like, and I've said stuff like that before. I've removed my board email from my phone, but then there's been moments where I'm kind of standing in line waiting for something to happen, a queue, a doctor's office. I'm like, okay, I actually don't have anything to do right now. I'm kind of tired of writing my poetry. My snack is done, 2 sips left in the coffee. I'm going to check my email. And that's a really convenient way for me to sort of like just erase, delete, respond. Because one of my things that I've been working on the last year, at least with email, is to respond very quickly, get some sort of a response acknowledgement right out there. Because I don't want the stack of emails. I like the energy that comes with a quick response from me. I don't like reading a email after the fact, like, oh damn, I wish I would have just sent this no right away, or had said that, yeah, sure, I'm in right away. So I think part of the sort of the young and the restless kind of mindset, some people may even say millennial line mindset, to sort of just ballsy come in and say, nope, not going to do that because I don't do work at home. I think that's the bravado that comes before experience. I think that is. One thing I will say is that it's a new phenom, as in I find that there's more individuals that are trying to rock that even before they have the experience to justify it. Because I have met two other people, youngish teachers, that have said that. However, one of them is actually so fully involved in community music that they have said flat out, I just don't have the time. Like, I don't go home and sit and binge watch Netflix. I leave here and I go play in an orchestra. So there is no, and then I have to sleep. I do have to sleep. So they're saying I do have to get my 6 or 7 hours. So when they say they won't do work outside of work, they're using their prep, they're using their lunch, they get in, they're efficient, they get shit done. Um, but maybe I'm saying that version is the exact same thing as experience. They have life experience that's telling them, you know, they have life experience that doesn't start like this. Tell people you won't do work after work so people don't have expectations of you after work. They're not doing that. They're saying, get your work done at work because when you leave here, your day's only half done. And if you want to have, that's their version of balance. If you want to play in the community orchestra, then you got to get your shit done before you leave the school. And if you're forced to choose, be late for orchestra or not complete a lesson plan, well, you have to decide, where do you feel more confident? Do you feel more confident improvising in front of your class or creating an excuse to your conductor? And everyone makes those decisions. Every teacher makes those decisions, right? That's what sick days, every single, like, I would guess a high percentage of sick days that individual takes, they're sort of deciding, how much do I sort of reveal about my sick day off? You decide, where are you more comfortable improvising? So, but I do appreciate that individual saying that, because I think worst base hit case scenario, worst best case scenario, best worst case scenario, a good outcome from this might be senior teachers questioning, am I giving too much to the system? That has been my experience. I've been there. I've pulled back a little bit in order to maintain my own work-life balance. And when I talk about work-life balance, I almost feel like I'm giving more to my life now than work. That's what's balance for me, is making sure that it's 75-25. That's balance. Which is kind of a weird thing to say, but I think that's true. I think it's maybe 60-40, but I would even push like 70-30, maybe,
But you're
in
getting a
favor of
job
my
done at
family.
work.
Well, experience has helped me to do that, right? Tools have helped me to do that. Colleagues have helped me to do that. and a massive amount of resources has helped me to do that.
Bro,
Um,
listen, you're killing me here because to the listener, they're like, "Oh, Clough only gives 40% of his time to work." How many times in the last couple of weeks, months, have you poloed me from something you're going to school at night to
mhm,
participate in a community art event? You did
mhm.
that, like, people don't know. So what you're saying, what you're yeah, people don't know. I've seen you balance your 60/40, and it doesn't look like that. Like some people talking trash. You've been doing stuff with your school community at night on
Mhm,
your time to support the kids and the community. So
mhm.
I'm a little bit pissed off at you right now because you're painting a picture of 60/40 being like school's not even getting half your time when in fact school is getting more than half of your time, but I know your flex. So that's
Well,
all I'm
my
saying.
here's the differential though, because I think the flex on this is when, like, when I say the 60/40, I'm talking about the energy that depletes me. I'm talking about the time that I don't necessarily get anything back for myself. When I participate in some of those, like, I've told you the past 2 years, like, I'm not taking meetings after school. And the cost there is that I'm on this weird fringe space with the committees that I'm on. Am I getting my stuff done? Sure. But I've also pushed, like, if we're going to meet, we're going to meet during lunch. It's between the bells. I would rather give up my lunch. I don't see as like for me, I don't see it as my free time. It's not part of the 60. That's part of the 40. I'll eat on the move. I'll take the meeting. I'll get something done. The 60 starts at the bell. So the possibility of 60 starts at the bell, but there's opportunities for that 60 during the day too. I've had times on my lunch where I've actually been able to write poetry. I don't have anything to do. I've taken a walk. There's also times where during my lunch I had to take a meeting and I had to do marking. So we've talked about this before with the protect the weekend idea. Is like, how do you sort of weave together this type of balance that is customized for your what makes you feel good, and that also allows you this element of agency where you know how and when to say no. So that 60/40, I would agree. I'm doing stuff at nighttime, but I'll tell you, like, even that overnighter art thing that I did, that was as much for me as it was. I told you this. It was an experience that I wanted, right? I wanted to see what I wanted to see. It was an artathon. I wanted, like, what does that look like at nighttime to be at a school at like 3:30 in the morning. And now I've got that experience. So yeah, I was putting in school time, but I felt like it was feeding the 60%. It felt, and that's what's key here. It felt like it was feeding my 60%. And I felt like I was that much richer for having been there and being able to sort of be with the kids during that, be with the staff during that, and kind of being part of the crowd that gets what that activity is. And ultimately, that plays out very well because I'm leaving the school now. So now it becomes memorabilia, like it's memorabilia for me, right? So I think that's knowing that you can have 60% or 70% experiences that are actually a part of your 30 creates a different way to look at it. I think that probably this individual you're talking about is doing the 70/30 as like a lockbox. Nothing school related will happen outside of that. And I've been there outside of the 30% of their day or their 40% of their day. When I clock out, I'm not checking email. I'm not doing prep. I'm not doing anything school related. I will still stand by. I can remember helping out with an AQ. A friend asked me to come and talk about. Even forget what I was talking about. I think it was something to do with. I don't even remember what the topic was I had to do. But within the conversation, I was suggesting the use of like your own story in the classroom as a teacher. And there was a teacher in the room that said, "Yep, I don't do that. I don't talk about anything about me. Nothing, nothing." And um, someone sat beside them. They're like, so, like, even if you went to like a Jays game, you wouldn't mention that at school the next day. They're like, nope, nope. The only version that my kids get of me are the ones that they see. It's like you're a fridge light, door open, light on, door closed, light off. And so in classroom, it's Mrs. Jones. You get Mrs. Jones, the teacher. That's it. person's name wasn't Jones. I just need a name. I could have said Mr. Jimmy, whatever. Anyways, so I've never tried to go that hardcore. So that 60/40, 70/30 is just this idea of how I'm how I'm protecting my weekend while I'm at work. And while I'm at work, I get less time that's freestyle for me. And I know when I'm away from work, there's less freestyle that I'm going to actually give to work. So, yeah. And that's just come because I've been doing the job long enough to be able to sort of see those differences. But you're right. I do add in the difference being is I feel like I have a choice as to whether or not I don't have to make it black and white. I can
And
choose.
I love that. I love that. Um, I love it because it's one thing for you and I to say 70, 30, 60, 40. And it's another to say, okay, when I'm done for the day, I'm done for the day. But like you said it best. There are times where, I'll be it I've told you my kids do stuff. So I like to take my kids to their activities, to their extracurriculars. I like to be there. But there are times within the times there's open space. There's me focused on work for whatever reason. There have been there have been a few days recently where I've not finished my day the way I would like, and I would, get my son to his flag football experience and know that okay, they're going to spend 25 minutes practicing. So I'll say to him, "Hey, FYI, while you're practicing before your game, I'm going to be walking the track and I'm going to be on my phone. I'm
Mhm,
sending emails. I'm making connections. I'm tying up loose ends." Okay. He looks at me. He's like, "Yeah." I said, "When your game starts, I'll be watching. But until then, I'm going back to work." And they're, both of the kids are like, "Okay, we get it, Dad." And it's like, for whatever reason, I didn't wrap up the way I normally do. I didn't like it. So I'm sending emails at 8:30 p.m. and I'm like, I feel weird because I don't want to bother parents, but I do want to update everybody. So it's like, hey, everybody, you're getting a late email from me, but I want to let you know what happened. I want to let you know how we're going to proceed. That's important to me. It's part of the work I do. And I take my
mhm.
job seriously and I like my work. So,
Yep.
and I've been feeling there's a hole lately with the whole not doing extracurricular with kids. Like
Mhm,
it's a kind of killing me a little bit, but I need to be careful because I have a job to do during the workday. But I would love, if I'm doing this again next year, I would love to find something that I could maybe help somewhere. Naturally, it would come at a school where I have a student and that student may be involved in something, and then I can be involved so I can be with that student, but I can also give to that school community in a way that would be valid to them. Um, that's something I'm going to be looking more at. But I hear you. I hear you in terms of I just wanted to push back on you because I know
mhm,
that you do things. I know that you care about your school community. You've talked about school community and how you've talked to me about moving schools and what you can bring to your new school community. And you're not telling me I start at 8 and I end at 2:30. That's what I'm bringing. You're like, "No. These are the skills I have, the interests I have, and this is what I can give to the community because I want to be part of that." And I think when you drop a 60/40, people aren't going to get they're not going to get the flavor. And yeah, you got something from that nighttime art experience. I'm sorry, what was it called? An
It was the artathon.
artathon that went for 24 hours.
Yep.
Like it went overnight and you took a shift in the middle of the night. So like yeah, okay, you're getting something, but you're also giving huge. Like that's a big deal for you to go to the school in the middle of the night and
Mhm.
assist. That's a big deal. You
I
didn't
know,
have
eh?
to do that.
But it's cool.
It is
And
cool.
it's cool. And it's cool.
Bro, I'm with you. I'm with you. I'm just saying let's not be quick to dump you serving the school. Like I
Mm,
get you were fed by it. I get that. And that's cool. That's the best. That's the best possible situation, that you're both of you are getting something out of it. That's the best. Why do we always have to lose? Like, oh, I'm supervising an event and I'm going to be away from my family. Why do we have to do that? We don't. We can we can do things to build us up. I know a couple of years ago when I was at my last school and the principal asked me to go on the grade 8 retreat and spend 2 nights with the grade 8s supervising them. I said, "Okay, 2 nights is a lot in my world with my kid, and my kids were in hockey, and I'm like, 2 nights is too much, but I'll give you 1 night. Like, can we work that?" He's like, "You give me anything and we're good." So I came home and I said to my wife, "Hey, I was invited and I wanna go. This is the night I wanna go." And she was like, "Awesome." And she's like, "Are you gonna?" I'm like, I'm looking forward to it because it will feed me, but it also makes sure that the classroom teachers get a break, because when I was there, I was like, just tell me what you want me to do. If you need
Mhm,
to go and like go for an hour or whatever, do what you need to do, because this is your baby for like 3 days kind of thing. Tell me what you want. I'm here for 24 hours. I'll do whatever you want me to do. And it was awesome because I get to see the kids in a different light. They get to see me in a different light, and I get to feel like I'm giving back. I
mhm.
was totally in. I can give you 24, and if my kids didn't do sports, I'd give you 48. But I'm not. I can't. I don't feel good about that. I feel like then I'm shirking my family. But all that to say, I you, the way that this teacher was delivering it it just the people that are working with this person were like, but this person doesn't give anything else. They're literally a body that comes in, punches out. We don't know how they get anything done. And they're very cavalier about not doing more. And I'm like, well, I guess that's their business, but maybe they're not reading their audience, or I don't know, they don't want to make connections with people. I don't know. I don't particularly like the person. I tried and I'm like, yeah, we're not in the same. It's good. I don't need to. We're good. You keep
Yeah.
your thing. I'm gonna do my thing. But yeah, I just wanted to say that about the your 60/40. Rochelle says that she agrees with you, Chris, that if it's a school event outside of school hours that feeds you, it doesn't really count as work.
I think it's yeah, it's kinda weird, right? It exists in this weird space of when we try I think it's one of those experiences where, we if sometimes educators, they frame teaching as a calling, right? Like, they just like, there was no choice. I just had to become a teacher. I'm not that person. So it felt like I was setting up a really sort of hopeful kind of suggestion here. But I do appreciate this idea that there are many life events that I've had where I realized that I love being a student of it. And I mean student in the really broad sense of being a student, that I'm just learning from it. It could be a walk, it could be our Foodapalooza, it could be this podcast. It could be just this idea that, you know, feeling safe enough and feeling uh supported enough to be able to go and do an overnight at the school, in the school. It is easy to sort of frame that as, yes, they need chaperones. I have a job and a function there. But this idea of convocation is that I feel like I am kind of called to sort of witness interesting things around me and to spend time observing them and to spend time investing in them. So that if I'm trying to sort of like frame what it means, that stuff outside the school hours, because I've done lots of stuff outside of school hours, right? A very short list of them, what I would say I would volunteer to do if I wasn't mandated to. So when I find a thing that creates curiosity for me, that's the stuff that, yeah, I have a hard time saying whether it's for fun or for work. It's in that really fascinating gray zone in between. And I like to believe that the humans that are able to rock that space, they probably enjoy their life more, right? They don't feel like they have to code switch entirely. like the individual that I was telling about at that AQ that just would not talk about anything about the weekend. That feels like so much more work to me than volunteering to go and do an overnight. For me to actually put the filters down, for me to put the filters down and not talk about, you know, the cool movie I saw on the weekend with my son, or maybe a poem that I'm working on, or maybe the fact that I have a podcast. Like if I don't share that, I feel that, it's kind of like the adult version of the stuff we're working with the kids of the mattering and belonging. If I can't access that information to make me feel good at work, then I have a hard time feeling like I belong. And if I don't get a response, if I can't get responses about the things that are interesting to me, then I don't know if I matter in the actual workspace. So, um, yeah, I agree with Rochelle. It doesn't count. I would almost say like maybe this idea of even counting is the wrong word. You know what I mean? Maybe it's not meant to count. It exists on a quantitative scale that just school can't actually create. There's no rubric for it, right?
It's funny that the way you say it then reminds me of, like, for example, Gary and Rochelle. Um, I know Gary does a lot of work with the Model UN and talking about, I'm stretching here, Gary, if I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong, but, like, talking about politics and stuff with students, he will engage with all kinds of activities around that and probably not refer to that as work. Just like I would venture to say of what I know about Rochelle and her skill set, that she will engage in all kinds of spiritual activities at the school and not call it she won't call it work because she loves that stuff. She likes doing it. She likes being part of it. She likes to lead it. And so then you have people in schools who are doing what they things that they would love to do outside, and everybody benefits because they don't see it as work, right? Like, I've run clubs at lunchtime where people are like, "You're crazy. You're giving up like 3 lunches a week." And I'm like, "It's not. It's good." Like the TED Ed club that I ran at 2
Mhm,
schools ago. People are like, "You're nuts taking this on." I'm like, "No, man, this is awesome." Like, I'm part of something. It's feeding me, right?
mhm,
It's helping me survive here. Um, I guess it's all perspective. It's all the position you're in and how you see things. Gary says using no can be useful in preserving power of choice, but as this conversation shows, it can induce judgment. 100%.
mhm.
I'm guilty of that. And then, oh, Rochelle, come back to my school. Your certificate of years of service is there, anyways. What? I don't know exactly what you're referring to, Rochelle. Anyway, she'll let us know if she's still around. And
Maybe did you leave it on a desk?
I don't,
Did you get some sort of like congratulations? You're now 10 years with Waterloo Catholic? Maybe that's what it means.
maybe, but I don't remember. I don't
Okay.
remember.
So Rochelle still got it's through the sharing of our outside interests that we are able to make stronger connections with our students. Well, that's what we ask of them, right? That's what we
Mhm.
invite them to do. We invite them to sort of share things, and then we do the work to create a context that that invitation is honored. So why can't that be for us too, right? Why can't that be for us?
When the two worlds collide, it's epic, right?
Boom.
That's the sweet spot. People are doing what they love to do, and the kids are benefiting and growing and learning to love things too. I'm gonna just zoom in here on that. What does it say, Chris?
Oh, it's just the titles
Oh,
decoded. That's all.
cool.
I don't
um,
know.
we don't always need to know, do we?
Well, I'll tell you, it's this last week. I don't know if I was fascinated with the discoloration of the moon. Everything looked kind of hazy and a little bit orangey and right? There's like the fires, Ontario,
The fires.
East Coast, Quebec. Yeah, the fires. So everything had a little bit of a yellowy orange tinge at night. Yes, it got sent to my school. Oh,
Rochelle, how
so
many years is it for? Because nobody told me I was getting a certificate. So just, you know
nice.
why? Oh, this upsets me. Do you know why I got sent to your school,
Is
Rochelle?
it because your site thing is still messed up in the email system?
My site in the whole system, in okay, in the very the inner
Teacher
annals of the system, okay?
teacher directory.
In the yeah, like HR thinks, well, they don't think. They've designated me as a literacy teacher that's out of your school.
That's awesome.
So I'm not getting mail that I should be getting because the system thinks I live at your school. This upsets me. This is
Do you have a
stupid.
mailbox there? Like, is it that
No,
specific as in
no,
they told the
nobody
school,
there.
"Make sure there's a mailbox."
No, no. And Rochelle's new principal, who I think started in February or March, she doesn't have a friggin' clue who I am, but the system says I'm there.
Return
So
to sender. Return to sender, baby.
I don't know. Rochelle, did it just, how do you have it? Was like, Rochelle, you're killing me. Rochelle, you have to fill me in. Gary says work can be the things that energize, not solely the things others deem as necessary.
We come home at the end of the day. We come home at
20
the end of the
years. Sorry, I'm
No, no, that's
baffled.
good.
I've been in the
It
system for 20 years, but they won't send the certificate to where I actually work.
it's a testament to the organizational model of the school board, eh? We come home every day and we share stuff about the day that often is not great. Our spouse, if they're in education, they're just waiting for their turn too to kind of share. And then if you have kids sitting there listening to it, they're like, so this is life in education. Very different. And, they're measuring that against their own experiences on the daily. I like to think that the conversations that my spouse and I have had at the dinner table have helped to humanize my kids' experience with the adults that are working with them, that they realize that there's more dimensions to them. Um, Good and bad, good and bad. But there's very much an element here of, if you're bringing home stories from work that are always like inflammatory and negative, I wouldn't say that. I would sort of suggest start looking for things at work that aren't so inflammatory. Like find a couple things that allow you to bring a good story home or a funny story home, because it's really easy, and especially now when we're in the last couple weeks of school, to start looking and noticing some of those opportunities to have one or two funny stories to share over the summer. As you've said before, chids, something good that's filling the cup. So
I need, okay. This is funny. I know we have to end soon, but so Rochelle says that the principal started in April and was handing out the certificates at staff meeting on
that's
Tuesday.
awesome.
So, Rochelle, please. So that principal's handing them out, and what gets to mine and is like,
Would
what
Roland come and pick up? Roland?
is Roland? Yeah, where's
It's
Roland?
like the
Like,
Ferris Bueller. Roland, Roland, Roland Chidiac.
Rochelle, please, before we shut it down, you got to tell me what happens when the principal gets to mine. I don't work there. Everybody knows I don't work there, Rochelle.
We're hanging on this one.
I can't wait to tell my principal. This is a good one. This is seriously a good one. You know what this reminds me of? When, oh, you were going to say something,
I
Chris.
just think, could Rochelle just drop it in the interoffice courier? Would it make it to you over
Oh,
at
Bosco for
yeah,
sure.
yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
just put it my name, Kitchener, Bosco Kitchener site. It's
If
there.
it's like our system though, there's like one pickup a week, so
We're
that might
twice
be that might
every we're 2 to 3 times a week depending on the schedule. But I know the guy, Robbie's the guy that delivers the mail to Bosco, and every time Robbie comes in, well, not every time. Sometimes I'll be in my little space. Robbie comes in, "Hey, what's going on?" I'm like, "I'm good." He's like, "I got mail for so and so." I'm like, "Just put it there, Robbie." And he's good that way. Robbie also does the laminating at for the board. So the one day Robbie and I were
it's a good guy to
talking.
know. Sounds like
He's
a
a
good
great
guy to
dude.
know.
Robbie says to me, Robbie's like, "Hey," and he starts talking about my wife and where she works. I'm like, "Robbie, man, connect the dots. How do you know my wife?" He goes, "She sends laminating all the time, and I do the laminating." I'm like, "Oh, is that good or bad?" He goes, "Well, I hate laminating, but if they send it in, I do it because that's my job." I'm like, "I'll talk to my wife." Um, it was funny because Robbie's like, "I know your wife. She works at such and such." I'm like, "Robbie, how do you know my wife?" Um, anyway, Robbie delivers the mail, so it'll be good. Oh, the principal said she said he doesn't even work here. if she hasn't sent it back, I'll do that on Monday. Thanks, Rochelle. Rochelle, are you tight with your principal? Will you let your principal know that the inner annals of the system say that I am a literacy teacher based at your school? So I'm sure when I call in sick, like I called in sick a couple of weeks ago, I'm sure your secretary probably got the report saying Chidiak is sick today. Here's his job code, which I get and I send to my principal. My principal doesn't get those reports. She's like, unless you tell me you're sick, I don't know you're sick because in the system, you don't belong to Bosco, you belong to Bauer. Okay, whatever you all say, I'll just be quiet and keep working. Anyway, so
It's awesome.
maybe I should just go into Bauer one day and say, well, can I sit somewhere here and eat my lunch? Like the system thinks I can, so why can't
I'm waiting for a UPS delivery.
well,
I'm waiting for a delivery.
because the principal's just gonna send it back, return to sender, which sucks
That's
because they don't
it.
know where I am.
Exactly. Life on the run.
Is that it for today, Clough?
That's it, bro. That's it. I gotta go make some eggs.
Awesome. Um, this was season 6, episode 37, number 255 for the Decoded podcast. Thanks, Gary and Rochelle, for jumping in and sharing
Hmm.
your thoughts and your ideas. And just, it's great to have a little bit of banter.
Yeah, for
Uh,
sure. Best
don't,
wishes in wrapping up the school year for sure.
yes, best wishes. Do not play with the magic wands. Just do the
Yep.
work.
Do the
Awesome.
work.
Peace, bro.
Peace, man.